welcome to another tutorial. In this one I am going to be making the Riley's Ruffle Apron, which will look like this hopefully when I'm all done. So this one you need to purchase the pattern from the Quilted Cow separately, and I also got a kit. I got this really pretty Christmas fabric. This one is All the Roads Lead Home, Sweet Holidays, and it's really pretty, and then it came with this red and also this checker. So this is going to be making my 1 yard is going to be for the sash and the ruffle fabric, and then I have my main fabric, which is a 1/2 yard, and then I've got this over here, which is going to be for my fat quarter pocket. The pattern does come with a template for the pocket, and I've already, this is just like freeze dry paper that I like to use sometimes for templates. I already traced the pattern and then cut it out so it is ready to go. So let's get started on making our ruffle apron. So I'm going to get started on ironing and cutting out all my pieces. It looks like you need one of your main fabrics, and it looks like you need a couple skirt ruffles, pocket pieces, some sashing of different kinds, and so on. So this comes on the pattern, and it just shows you what all your pieces, what pieces you should have by the time you're done cutting out your fabric. Alright, so I've got all my pieces cut out, and there is an option to do a non-ruffled waistband. Here, I'll show you. So there's an option to do the non-ruffled waistband, or you can do the ruffled waistband. I think I'm going to go for the ruffled waistband just to add that step. So on the first page there's different directions for hemming your main piece. So if you're doing a non-ruffled waistband, you will hem 3 sides, the 2 short sides, and then the bottom. This is directional fabric, so my top is up there. But if you have non-directional, just pick whichever long side is going to be your top and don't hem it. But if you are doing the ruffled version, you are going to hem all 4 sides. And how that's going to go is you're going to take your raw edge and you're going to fold it in 1/4 inch and press it. And then you're going to fold it under another 1/4 inch and press it. And then you're going to stitch that down. So you're going to do that all the way around all the sides. Alright, so next you're going to take your pocket pieces, and this is optional, you don't have to add the pocket, but you should have 2 cut out, and you're going to lay them right sides together. And then I will clip, and you can clip or you can pin. I'm going to clip mine together, and you're going to want to leave an opening at the top to turn it inside out. But you're going to back tack, and then you're going to stitch all the way around using the seam allowance that's on the pattern, and then back tack. Remember to leave your opening here so you can turn it inside out. Alright, so there's my opening. I'm going to clip the corners, but I did take my scissors and I cut into the fabric all the way around. You can see my little notches. You don't want to cut into the seam, but you want to cut little notches. That way when you turn it inside out, it'll help the fabric relax and help it stay flat a lot better. So now I'm going to just clip my corners, and then my opening's right here, and I'm going to turn it inside out. Alright, once it's turned inside out and all the corners and the curves are poked out really nicely, and here's my opening. I just turned the fabric under, there it is, so it aligned, and then I just gave everything a good press. Now I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch close to this edge all the way down, and it will close up my opening and give me a nice top stitch look. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create this ruffle right here that goes on the pocket. So you're going to take the piece, there should only be one cutout that is for it. Just make sure you know which one it is. We've got lots of them. It's one of the shorter ones that you cut. And then you're just going to go, here's long side. You're going to do long side to long side raw edge because you're going to create a tube. And then once that's clipped or pinned in place, or you can freestyle it, you're going to sew all the way down the long sides, and then you're going to turn it inside out. So, okay, when you have it turned inside out, you're going to take the seam, and this is going to be the back. And you're going to center the seam on the back of the piece, and then you're going to give it a good press, just like that. Alright, so what you need to do now is set your machine to kind of like the longest stitch length it can, and on mine it's 6. Every machine is a little different because you're just creating like a basting stitch so we can pull the threads. And then what you're going to do is you're going to run, now you might, I know it said center, I just did it a little bit on either side of the center. Depends on how you want to do it or how you read the directions to what you do. We'll see if this works. But I did not use my automatic thread cutter either because I wanted the strings of the thread on either side so I can pull them. So if you have an automatic thread cutter like I do, don't use it on this one because you need these strings here to pull so that way you can create the ruffle. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find the thread. I'm going to separate your 2 threads, and you're going to find the same one on either side, and you're going to gently pull them, and then that will gather the material and it will ruffle it in. And then you're going to do the same with the other thread, and then this will, it needs to shrink to the size that it says when you're creating this. So right now it's the length I cut it, but it needs to be according to the pattern. You just need to pull these threads until it gets ruffled into the correct size according to the pattern. So I'm going to do that now and then show you what it will look like. Actually, I don't know how many of you have done ruffles before, but I don't know if it's that thread. Let's see, I'll do the bottom one first. Hopefully you can see. Got some flyaways, so there's that one. I'll the top one, and then I'll the other side and get the top one. And then you should just be able to, too many threads. Yeah, see, there you go. You just start pulling it gently. You don't want to break it, and it will ruffle, and then you can move the ruffle down. And then you can keep pulling on the side till you get your ruffle where you want it, and you can gently, because if you break your thread, then you don't have any thread to pull, so really do it gently. Alright, and then I'll just keep pulling till it's there, and I can pull my ruffle down, and then I can go to the other side and find that same thread that was on the top, and then just start gently pulling from that side. So I don't know if you can see very well. I'm just taking that top thread and pulling it. If the other thread doesn't work, then just try the other thread out of the 2. One of them works. And then you're just going to pull until you get your ruffle and until it measures what the pattern wants it to be. And then I'll do that to my other set of threads for the bottom part. Okay? Alright, so once you've got it to the size you need and it looks kind of straight and flat, I carefully trimmed off my strings, and then on the side I folded it back 1/4 inch, and then I folded it back another 1/4 inch, and I just have a clip holding that place. And this is the back of my tube, and I did it to the other side as well. The pattern says to make a memory crease, and I don't know what that was. It was in this step, so I didn't do it. I skipped it. I didn't take the time to look up what that was, so I'm going to hope that this works and just keep going with it. So mine's going to end up being different than the pattern, and I apologize. I didn't know how to do the memory crease, and I skipped it, and I don't think I can do the next part correctly the way they want to on the pattern, so I'm just going to do it my own way here. Maybe someone else will make it where they do this part correctly. But anyway, I just ended up stitching the sides down where I had them folded under. And then I just put this on top of the front of my pocket. and I just aligned it pretty much short, you know, this with that edge and this with that edge. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to take this and I'm going to stitch over where I had my based stitches to stitch that down, and then I'm going to do it here. So I think maybe I made these base stitches too far away, and that's just how I ended up doing it. I think it will still look all right, and it's just how I'm going to do mine, and it's where I ended up. And again, maybe someone else will do it where they'll do this step a little bit differently, according correctly to the directions, but I think this will work for me. And this is what mine ended up looking like according to how I did it. I don't think it's supposed to quite be, it wasn't supposed to be quite like this. It wasn't supposed to be down so much on the pocket, but it still gives it kind of that ruffly looking texture, and I'm good with it. All right, on to the next step. Now that your pocket is done, whether you did it my way or the real direction way, you're going to find your two pieces that are the widest pieces you have, and you should have two of them, and they're pretty long. And you're going to put right side to right side, and you're going to attach them at the short side with 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so when you are ready to create and attach the optional ruffle skirt, you're going to take your two, they're the widest pieces that you cut, strips. There should be 2 of them. And you're going to put them right sides together, and you're going to sew them together. So I just put them right sides together, I sewed them together, and then I pressed the seam open. And so you have really one long strip, one strip there. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go and hem all of the 4 sides. So you're going to fold a little bit over 1/4 inch, give it a press, and then fold it again another 1/4 inch and give it a press. I kind of did mine freestyle, so it might look a little bit more than 1/4 inch, but you do that all the way around, and then you go around and then you just sew those seams down like I have done here. Okay, and so the next part is you're going to decide which part's the top. If you have directional fabric, that will help you out. But once you decide where the top is, you're going to measure down according to the directions. You're going to measure down, and then you are going to sew a row of gathering stitches, which is so you can create the ruffle. And so on your machine again, if you have an automatic thread cutter, you need both of your threads. Looks like mine's got one extra in there. There we go. Pull it out. All right, because you want a tail of thread before you do this. So pull it so it's not short. And then you're going to want to increase your stitch length again to a high one. Okay, and then you're going to take this and put it into your machine once you've decided what's the top, and you're going to stitch down all the way. And when you get to the end, don't use the automatic thread cutter, because if your machine has one, because you need the tail of thread at both ends to pull to make the ruffle effect. So once you're done, if you have an automatic thread cutter, don't use it. Just lift your foot up and pull and give yourself a nice long tail at both ends, and then clip. And then once that's done, you're going to measure again from the top down, and then you're going to sew a second line of your gathering stitches. So you should have 2 that are 1/4 inch apart when you are done. All right, and remember to leave a nice long tail when you start, and when you finish, don't use this if your machine has this option. Lift this up and pull it out, and then make sure you have a nice long tail before you clip off your threads. So here I am, I just finished sewing my first row, and I lifted it up, and I'm going to leave it quite a nice long tail before I snip it. All right, and then just make sure you pull these again so you have a nice long tail at the beginning, And then you're going to put this back in, and then you're going to sew the next one down from the top in. And again, they should only be a quarter of an inch apart, both of your stitch lines. All right. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's all done. About a quarter of an inch apart. This is the top, and there are my nice tails of string thread for when I pull it to gather it and make the ruffle effect. Alright, so now you're going to find your apron skirt, and this is mine, and you are going to fold it in half because you want to find the center of your apron skirt here at the top and at the bottom. So once you have found the center, you can put a pin in it, you can use a marking pen. I'm going to stick a pin in it, and then I'm going to find the center at the top once I have it all nicely folded in half, and also put a pin in it. So both my centers at the bottom of my skirt and at the top of my skirt are marked. The next step you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler and you are going to measure up from the bottom, and there was my last step. There's the pins marking my centers. You're going to take your ruler and you're going to measure up from the bottom of the skirt, and you're going to take whatever marking utensil that you have. I have this chalk one that I got from the Quilt a Cow. He just clicks and then the chalk comes out. Then you can hold it down and then press the chalk back in. And so I have marked, and it's hard to see because it's black and white, but you can see my marking lines here. I didn't do a straight line, I just did marks all the way down because that is going to be the placement line when you are ready to place your ruffle there. Alright, so once you're done marking that placement line, you're going to take your ruffle, and mine is just folded in half here. Alright, because I need to find the center of my ruffle, so it's just folded in half. And now I know where my center is, which is pretty much on the seam line where I connected the two, right there. I don't know if you can see it, but the seam line is right there. And so now what it says to do is to match the center of the ruffle with the bottom center of the apron skirt. So I'm going to take the center, and I'm going to match it here. I'm just going to pin it in place there. Okay. Place the wrong side of the ruffle against the right side of the skirt with the top. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to read it. You're going to need some pins for this one. And now, at the end here, you've got your threads that you left for your two sew lines. And if you find one of them and you pull it, it'll start the gathering portion, and pull it gently. You don't want to break the thread. And then you can slowly move the ruffle down. You can come down to the next one and also find the thread, separate them, and pull it. You need to pull them together. Okay, there we go. And so what we're doing here is we're gently moving the ruffle down while we're pulling the threads. Okay, your threads will get longer as you pull, and we have to pull it until the edge matches the edge of our apron. So I've got a lot of pulling to do because this is quite a long piece here. So we're just going to keep on pulling and gathering, pulling, moving it down, gathering the ruffle. You want it to go, and I do have that pinned there at the center, which is what I was supposed to do. Just want to make sure I'm following the directions right. Oops, I got somehow a different string in there. So this is just a little bit of a process. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to straighten this out, and I think I pulled it long enough. I mean, if you've over pulled it, all you have to do is take your fabric and pull it the opposite way to re-pull it out if you've over pulled it. It's no biggie. You just don't want to cut your strings until you're done pulling or accidentally break them, because otherwise you're going to be up a creek without a paddle. It's going to be hard to get those strings back. So now you're just going to manipulate the ruffles, the fabric, until it's kind of evened out. And it's where you want it. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take this and you're going to align the top edge with your markings. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to pin in place. And if you want to, you know, manipulate your ruffles a little bit more, go ahead and do that, because it's not very ruffly right here, so I can just pull some of that out and straighten it out, make it look the way I want to make it look before I pin everything down. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to make sure the top is aligned where it should be with my markings that I did. And now I'm just going to start taking my pins and pinning things down. These pins are pretty great. I got them from the Quilted Cow as well. They're nice and long, really sharp edges. And alright, and there we go. I've got one side done. And at this point, you can cut your strings here if you are absolutely sure this is what you want. You don't want to pull your strings anymore. You've got your ruffle just the way you want it. You can trim your strings up. But if you feel like you're going to want to, you're not quite sure if you like it or whatever, don't trim your strings till the very end. But I'm gonna give mine a little bit of a trim because they were pretty long. And now I'm going to do the other side. Now you don't have to flip yours around like I did, but I'm going to. And then I'm going to find, it's pretty much the top thread. So there's the top thread of that one. And there's the top thread of the other one. And now that I've got them, I just pull. Oh, this is not wanting to work. Is it the other one? Oh, it's that one. Okay. Alright. So now I just start gently pulling again and manipulating the ruffle all the way down till it's where I want it to be. I've got a lot of space here. There we go. It's not as easy to break it when you're holding both of them, but you should still be careful because you really don't want to break your threads. Okay, there's that. Scoot the ruffles down. This will be really cute when it's all done. And if you've not done a ruffle before, you can take a little bit of practice. Oh, and when you're done, set your machine stitch length back to normal. I've forgotten to do so before, and then I accidentally started sewing, and then, yeah. So reset your stitch length. I don't think you'll be doing, I don't know, if you'll have to ruffle anything else, but always reset it when you're done or press the clear, depending on what type of machine you have and what settings you have. Alright, so I think that's pretty good. Pretty good on this one. I'm out of my, oh, that's a bent one. I'm out of my other ones, so I'm going to be using these pins. And just play with your ruffles, move them down, situate them to where you want them, how you like it. And then align the top edge with your marking and pin. Or clip. I mean, clipping will be hard to do. I think you really need pins. And in this case, and if you have the nice long ones, those are, I like the nice long ones. I'm out of them. Oh wait, no, I have there. Sorry, I forgot that they were back there and they weren't all in my pin cushion. So yes, I'm gonna take these short ones out and replace them with my nice long ones. I think these are Clover ones by Clover. I'd have to look, but they are great. They have the flower type head. Put as many pins in as you want to secure it. I'm going to take the short one out and put another long one in. It's up to you. It's your comfort level on sewing for this. So how many pins you want in and how many you don't want in. Alright. Oh, that one escaped the box. Escapee. I'll just stick it in right there. Okay. And again, I'm comfortable with where I'm at, so I'm going to trim those up. Nice long string left. On to the next step. Alright, so now that you've completed this step, what you're going to do is you're going to take this to the machine and make sure you set your stitch length back to what it should be. You are going to attach this by stitching between these two rows of your gathering stitches. And remember to back tack when you begin and back tack when you finish. Now you can do it like a pocket if you want to. I don't think it would hurt if you just sew over both of your stitches that are already there. But I'm going to follow the directions and stitch between these two rows all the way down my ruffle to attach it to my skirt. So you can already get an idea of what it's going to look like. So cute. It's a nice Christmas one. Here we go. Alright, so that is what the front looks like. And if you haven't trimmed off your strings yet, trim off your strings. And that is what the back looks like. Okay, on to the next step. Alright, so next you're going to take your pocket and you are going to place it wherever you want on your apron. It just says if you're sewing, you just have to be sure on the placement of how far you're placing it from the top, depending on if you're doing the ruffle top or if you're doing just the standard version. Here, I'll show you right there. So here, this one has a ruffle top. So if it has a ruffle top, you're going to want to make sure it's down farther according to the pattern. But if you're not doing a ruffle top, then you can place it a little bit higher according to the pattern direction. So just pay attention to that. And once you're ready to sew, pin your pocket in place, and then you're just going to stitch all the way along this part of the pocket. Don't sew the top because otherwise it won't be a pocket that's usable. Alright, so again, pin it and then back tack when you begin, stitch along the outer length, outer edges of your pocket, and then back tack, or even like triple, quadruple back tack when you start or when you end to give it extra support and strength there. All right, I'm gonna sew that on. All right, so what you should have here are your sash cuts. So you should have 4 of the longer ones. I mean, they're both the same width, but you should have 4 that are cut longer in length. And then you should have 2 that are cut shorter in length. And these are your center ones, the 2 shorter ones. So one of these is going to be attached to 2 of these. So you're going to take one of your center ones, and you're going to take 2 of these ones. That's 2. And those 2 go with that. And then you're going to attach one to each of your center ends. So you'll take 1 and put these right sides together on the short ends, and then sew, and then press. When you press your seam, you're going to press it to this longer piece, okay? And then once you're done with that, you'll take your other one and bring it right sides together here on the other end of the center piece, and then you're going to stitch that 1/4 of an inch, and then when you press the seam, you're going to press the seam towards the longer piece, not the center. And then you're going to do this twice. You're going to do it with that set, and then you're going to do it with that set, so you have 2 long sash pieces. Alright, so now that you have all your pieces connected, you can see that this is the center piece, and then I've got a long piece attached to it. And when I pressed my seam, I pressed it towards the longer piece and not the center piece. The same one with this one. So I pressed the seam to the longer edge and not towards the center. So because this is the ruffle skirt, and they give you 2 options for the sashing. So here you can do a regular one with no ruffle at the top, or you can do the option with the ruffles. So I'm going to do this one. I'm just going to keep, since it's a ruffle skirt, I'm going to keep the ruffles all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these pieces and I am going to put them right sides together, and I am going to sew, let's see, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. But you want to leave an opening when you get probably to in the middle, your center piece. So here's my center piece here, so I'm going to leave a little opening in the middle there to turn everything right side out once I am done sewing along the perimeter of my pieces here. So I'm going to go do that now, and then I'll come back and we'll clip the corners and then turn everything inside out and then give it a really good press. So here we go. Alright, so once you've sewn them all together, you're going to want to clip the corners here so there's less bulk, but don't clip into your, you can trim around it too if you want. And here's my opening in the middle so I can turn it inside out. Here's the other side. Just don't clip your sew line. Okay, so once that's done, now you're going to find your opening and turn everything inside out. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back once that's done. Alright, so once you've got it turned inside out, you're going to need something to help poke out the ends. Alright, I got these teal thingies that you can use from the Quilted Cow that they're really great to use for this. I've even got this point to point turner here that I like to use. Just whatever you use, just be gentle. There's no lining on this fabric, and you can easily poke through your fabric. So yeah, just be careful. I mean, if you don't have something like this, like a fancy tool, You know, I've used the end of a pencil before, or a pen, or a paintbrush, and you just want to poke out your corners and make them look nice. And then you're going to go and do that to the other end. So you don't need a fancy tool. It's nice to have these type of tools, but you don't need a fancy tool like this. Just don't use scissors. Those would probably poke through something you don't want. So just be gentle and poke those corners out so they look nice and straight. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So once you're done, you're going to take this to the iron and you're going to press everything nice and flat. And for your opening here, you're going to just want to tuck this material under a little bit. And then once you pull it, it should give you a nice straight line there and look even with the rest of everything. So here's my opening right here. And then you're going to press that. And if you've got any like little strings that are wanting to kind of hang out and party, cut those off too. So I'm going to go do that now. Alright, so we're getting close. Now we just need to attach the sash here that we finished. But before we do that, we need to reduce the width of our apron here. So what we're going to do is we are going to sew 2 gathering stitches. So the first, from the top, you're going to sew your first gathering stitch down, and it's going to be the widest one from the top of your apron. And then you're going to measure down again and sew a second one. And just like you did with the ruffles, you need to make sure you leave nice long tails on both ends so you can pull it. And we're going to pull it once we make the ruffles to measure the width of our center strip here. So right here is the seam and right here is the seam, and we're going to pull it till it measures this width right here. Okay, alright, so I'm going to go sew my 2 gathering stitches. I'm doing option number 2, which is the ruffle top. Just pay attention, whatever sash that you're doing, your measurements. Okay, alright, so I've got my sash laid out so I can see where I'm clearly measuring to, and this is my center, so I'm measuring, or I'm pulling till it's ruffled or gathered so it measures this width. So again, I'm just going to find my strings. Usually it's the top thread, but whatever thread works. There it goes. Alright, and we'll see if that works there. This one and see. Oh, it's not that one. There it is. There it about is. I just need this one a little more. Okay, sorry, I'm quiet, I'm trying to concentrate. There it goes. I don't know if it's the other one either. Yeah, it's the bottom ones on this one for some reason. But whatever, those are the ones that work. Alright, so I have my width done, and it is pulled. Okay, on to the next step. Alright, so to keep everything in place here, you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to sew a sew line. Make sure you reduce your stitch length back to its original length, okay, before you sew. And you're just going to sew a line between the 2 gathering stitches that you did all the way down to secure what you just pulled so it won't move on you, and then we will attach the sash. Alright, so now that I've sewn and everything is not going to come out, I am going to trim off my strings, and then we're going to place our sash on. So we're going to take our sash here, and we're going to find the center of the sash, and I'm just going to do that by putting my seams together. And there's the center of my sash. Put that over there. And then I'm going to align the center of my sash with that pin, and I want to put it so on here we sewed those 2 gathering lines, so I'm going to be putting it, aligning it with the the first gathering stitch that I did, and I'm going to pin this in place. There it is. Okay, because you put 2 of them. You sewed the first one that was so far down, and then you sewed one that was a 1/4 inch longer than the first one that you did, and so that is where my where's my pins? There they are. Is going to be placed. So now I'm just reading real quick. Yeah, it's just going to cover the top line of the gathering stitches, and then I'm going to pin to secure. So you don't want that gathering stitch showing. You want to place it just above it so it is hidden under the sash here. It's going to be so cute, this fabric. I think Riley Blake has to be probably one of my favorite, and Lori Holtz. I really like Riley Blake, and I don't know things are Riley Blake until I get up to them, and then it's like, oh, it's Riley Blake, and I seem to be drawn into whatever fabric lines Riley Blake has made. I think she's probably one of my favorite. This is the Riley Blake line, which is super cute, and I have lots of fabric that comes from her. Alright, so we're just going to pin on both sides all the way down, and then we didn't sew the opening closed, but that opening is gonna, looks like my ruffle kind of came out. We're going to get that lined up. There we go. So it's all pinned. I have the little ruffle at the top, and the opening was in the middle here, and that is going to be sewn as I go. So I'm going to top stitch around, securing all the edges of the sash with a 1/8 seam allowance, and then I'll be done with my skirt. So I'm going to go sew this on now. Alright, there it is, all finished. Sewn on. I just ended up starting here and sewing all the way down, and then sewing there, and then all the way down. And my opening was there, so it's definitely closed. And that is what it looks like. Super cute this turned out. And that, my friends, is the Riley's Ruffle Apron. The pattern is from the Quilted Cow, and the kit also came from the Quilted Cow. Oops. Happy sewing! This is what it looks like on. It's plenty wide. It even comes to the back. It's got a great pocket, and again, you could have placed the pocket anywhere. And it still has a little bit of room in the back for the sash. And so, yeah, it turned out super cute. And you should make yourself one definitely for this holiday season or whatever your cookie needs are. Make great gifts or just to keep.